Yeah.
Hi, hello, is this Awanande?
Speaking.
Hey man, this is Tommy Bryson. This call's gonna be recorded. I'm potentially uploaded. How can I help?
Hey, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How can I help?
Yeah. So, I got the PPP loan, and
Okay.
I wanted to ask if you have some ideas on how I can pay myself, and also how I could start up a small genuine business. Because what I was doing, I was just a gig worker. I did DoorDash, I did Instacart, and right now I'm on 1099. I work as a social service worker. So
Okay.
I was to start up a small business with this money. And plus, what happened is I had someone do this application for me. So I'm not sure about the figures this nigga put in there, and he's asking me to pay him some money. But I just wanted to get good advice on how to go about setting up myself with this money, and so for future of the benefits, so I don't have to go
Okay.
back
So how
into the
much money did you get?
20 bucks, 20K.
$20,000.
Yeah.
All right. So with the PPP loan, it can be forgivable, but only if you use it for the right things. For example, like payroll, paying the mortgage, paying the rent, the lease, or whatever it is. Does that make sense? Or
Yes.
utilities. But if you don't use it for those reasons, you will have to pay that money back usually. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if I pay myself, because from
You
what
can,
I
you get
understood is
yeah, you can pay yourself as long as it's part of payroll. So for
okay,
example, I have a small business also. I have an S corporation where I have myself listed as an employee and I can pay myself with that money also. That should be fine and it should be forgivable. But if you don't use it for the right reasons, it could be, for example, the problem. Now, that's just not the only thing here, right? It sounds like almost
okay.
like a little hustle here is going on. So, for example, if this guy that filled out your paperwork, how much money does he want from you?
He wants 1,500.
Yeah, so it sounds like this guy did all he could to get you as much money as possible because it's a little finesse. So the idea is that you have to confirm everything this guy put in that document, in
So
that
how do I
application.
confirm that?
You gotta pull your documents. You gotta call for you can I think you can call the whole PPP loan people and just find out what your whole application was like. Because the idea is if you lied on that, I think it's like a federal crime. And if you get caught, potentially you could have a massive problem. So now, for example, let's go through the options here. Option A, my name is Tommy Bryson. I hired someone else to do this whole thing for me, and they put all the right information. Now I got this money. What do? I might just pay myself the regular way, use it the correct way. That way, later on, I can apply for forgiveness and hopefully get forgiven. You never know what's going to happen with the government. Option B, my name is Tommy Bryson. I applied for this whole PPP loan with this guy. He falsified my numbers, exaggerated them, or maybe, for example, made them less, which is basically illegal. And now I'm worried about the whole thing. So I want to contact the people, find out what he actually put down, if everything's actually good. If it's not, well, I have two options here. I can either keep the money and hope nobody finds out about it, even if I do things the correct way, or I can potentially give it back or see what my options actually are. Like, hey, can I make some adjustments to this application? Does that make sense?
That makes sense perfectly.
But this guy wanted $1,500. That is not how it works. So if I have an accountant and they help me apply for this stuff, they're not gonna charge me for it. If I find somebody that's gonna do this for me, they're not gonna charge me a bunch of money. You know what I mean? It sounds like this guy knows that you have like a business that you had on the side. They don't really make that much money, and they try to exaggerate things. But I can't say for sure. So what you want to do is you want to confirm. Okay?
Okay. So
All
I'll
right.
call SBA.
Yeah, you want to call the SBA and find out exactly what's going on there, because you should have like a username and an email and all that stuff to find out exactly like, hey, what did this guy actually put down? Does this make sense? If it doesn't make sense, the big thing is basically, man, if you were to get, for example, X amount of money and you actually don't need it and can get you in massive trouble, I wouldn't mind giving it back if it's actually not like a legal standpoint. Does that make sense? It sounds like you might be taking an L, but in reality, you might be winning in the end because you're not gonna get like go to jail and all that stuff, or they try to take the money back.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
All right.
you do social work right now,
Yeah. Right now I'm a social worker.
and you work on a 1099.
Yeah, I've been working at 10, and I started working August last year, I've been on 1099 since August last year, and also I do a site W2 hustle.
Okay, what do you do for that?
Direct support personnel. I help people with disabilities. I work in group homes.
Okay, group homes. That's your W-2.
Yeah.
So how much money do you make?
Total, I make about for the W2s, I make about 30,000.
Okay.
And for the 1099, total I made about 30,000 or 25,000. Yeah.
Okay, so total you're saying you're making around $55,000 a year?
Yes. This year, I jumped from gig to gig, so it's not really stable.
Okay, but this is more stable because you have group home stuff a little bit more stable. The social
the group
work
home is stable. The social work is I'm a private contractor, so it's not actually very stable. It depends on how many people, how many consumers I have, how many that I get to see, how many. That's how it ranges.
Okay, so what's your goal with this income right here? Like, what are you trying to do?
Actually, I'm blind right now because I wanted to start up a cleaning company with this money that I got, but with the money that I'm getting from the social worker and the W2, I haven't saved much.
You don't save much, or do you save?
I haven't saved much. I haven't.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, right? How much money were you making last year?
Last year, I made about 30,000.
Okay, so how is it possible that this year you make an extra 25 and you don't have enough? The big problem is here you have a leak in your bucket. So every time you try to fill it up, all the water just exit. Meaning, for example, your budget is not good, or for example, you don't have a budget. So the main thing is, if you can live off of 30 and you're making an extra 25, you can save that money up to start whatever business you have to start up without having to go into crazy debt. Does that make sense? Or doing some illegal stuff either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the first step would be, bro, I would go ahead and say, okay, let me create a budget here. What are the four most important things to the budget? You have, for example, shelter, you have groceries, utilities, and lastly, transportation, right? Those are the four things you need. Everything else outside of that is just a want. So you cut everything you don't need, and that should allow you to basically have extra money left over. You can use that money for savings. Now, a big problem that can stop that is basically, do you have any debt right now?
No, not really. I just have 1,000 on my credit card. I think that's the only debt that I have.
Okay, so the first thing I would do is, by the way, congratulations. I would save. You have any cash, by the way, on hand?
Cash? No.
Okay, so zero cash. So that means you don't have an emergency account. And by the way, that is normal in America. But the main thing is, what you want to do is, you want to save $1,000 as fast as possible, which will not be hard once you have a good budget. The problem with you is right now, no matter how much money you make, you're going to spend it all. Why? Because when you went from 30 to 25, you still don't have any money. It's just the honest truth. But as long as you say, hey, I have this money to spend my expenses, I cut everything else out, rest of the money I'm saving, you're going to have a budget that's going to make sense for you. So for example, my first step would be, let me save $1,000 for emergencies. Second step would be, let me use the avalanche method to pay off my debt. Pay the debt that costs the most money. In this case, thankfully, you don't have any student loan debt, any personal loan debt, any car note, right? Just a credit card.
No, I don't have any of those, just my credit card.
Yeah, so the big thing is
cut out my car right now. My car is weighing out. I was thinking also to get a new car and start doing Uber.
Okay, so let me tell you something real quick. Let's get this out of the way first, okay? First thing is you want to pay off the credit card in full. And the way you build credit the correct way is basically you put one small bill on the credit card, like Netflix or iTunes or whatever you use, like a little recurring bill, and you set that credit card to auto pay in full. You can do that through the app, or you can call the company and have them pay the full balance in full every single month. Because it's so small, you'll always make sure you have money in your bank account, and this way also you don't go into debt anymore. You grab the physical credit card and you cut it. Second thing is this. If you buy a brand new car, what does this mean? you are going to lose in the first year around 10 to 20%. In the first 5 years, around half that value. On top of that, most likely you can't afford it. So in reality, you have to borrow money. Is that right?
Yes.
So now you're going to have to add a little car payment of $600 every single month. That's money you could have been saving for your entire business, right? If that's what you want to do. So my advice would be, if I'm you, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, I have one gig here with the social worker. I have the other one right here with the home stuff, I think. And I'm going to grab that money. I'm going to buy maybe like a little car here and there. If I want to do a side hustle, I can if I want to. But I'm going to buy a used vehicle, 3 to 5 years old, and I'm going to pay cash for it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. I watched one of your video and I considered that. So I'm looking to buy a used car.
For cash.
Yeah, cash.
And remember, right, it's not going to be that hard for you. Because once you're out of debt and you have your little emergency account, right, you're going to have extra cash over. My advice would be, before you go ahead and buy some fancy car, you go ahead and say, let me go ahead and save 6 months to 3 months worth of emergencies. Because when you have, for example, a job that's not stable, you want to make sure you're okay in case anything does happen. So in this case, I'm saving 3 months worth of emergencies. So whatever you spend per month, which you have, for example, the budget I gave you, shelter, utilities, groceries, and last transportation, you're going to say, well, whatever that is times 3, I'm going to save that money up. It shouldn't take you more than 3 to 5 months if you have a good budget. Once you have that money there, if you want to save money up when it comes to your car, you can if you want to. And it shouldn't take you like maybe like in 6 months or 3 months, you should have like $5,000 to $1,000 in there to go ahead and buy the car you actually want to buy. Right?
Yes.
A big thing is also, if you want to start investing to build passive income, because I can tell basically you are a hustler, man. You're doing one thing here, you're doing one thing here, and you want to add a third job to you, so you know how to make money in some way. But if you want to add, for example, passive income, money you make when you sleep, I recommend, for example, you start investing into your retirement once you're out of debt, once you have a full-blown emergency account, and that's the whole goal there. Okay, so if you want to invest into your retirement, go ahead.
When I was first of all, I was working with Coca-Cola. Last year I was working with Coca-Cola.
Okay.
I had a 401k account.
Yeah.
And when I left Coca-Cola, the 401k account, for some reason, I took out money from the Fidelity 401k. I took out the money. So now that I'm doing a side gig, I don't know how to link it up with my paycheck where I can send money to this IRA account, or do I have to create the account again?
You have any employees?
No, I don't.
Okay. Potentially, what you could do, for example, is create an LLC or potentially an S corp, and then you can go over to Vanguard or Fidelity. I use Vanguard, by the way, if you're going to use Fidelity. But if you go to Vanguard, they'll help you out set up, for example, an individual 401k. That's a 401k for your company. So now you can start investing through your company. But also, for example, you could just set up a Roth IRA with Fidelity, or for example, the company I use is M1 Finance. So if you want to do like a Roth IRA, you could do that. Now the big thing is basically, I want you to get into the habit that whatever money you invest, it should be between 10 to 20% at this level. The answer is, you're not going to touch. This money is not for you. How old are you, by the way, bro?
I'm 32.
Yeah, so this money is not for 32-year-old you. This money is for the future you that's going to need this money when that time comes. So you can't just like be playing yourself all the time. So it means, for example, if you're going to be investing 15% of your money or 20% of your money, when you put that money into your Roth IRA or, for example, into individual 401k that you actually make with your company, you don't touch it. You leave it there. Now, the big thing is basically, if, for example, you stop this company or you end like your 401k with your current company, any of that stuff, right? You can always just create a traditional IRA and roll over the money from your 401k into the traditional IRA, and that way you don't get penalized, and that way you don't have to sell anything either. Does that make sense?
No. So do I just Google traditional IRA?
Okay. So here, let me break it down, okay? Let me break it down so you understand it step by step here. So once you're debt free, you save for emergencies, and you bought your car that you actually want to buy for cash. Now you want to start investing. You have 2 ways to invest, right? Well, 3 ways. You have, for example, the employer side, which is basically like a 401k plan, Roth 401k, 403b plan, Roth 403b plan, all that stuff right there. Then you have, for example, the individual stuff, right? Individual retirement, like yourself. So you have, for example, the Roth IRA, traditional IRA, and even, for example, a taxable account. Just having, like, for example, just a taxable account with tax and all that stuff. Now, what you want to do is say, if I'm going to invest 15% of my money, I can go ahead and say, well, let me first of all get the match at the company I work for now, so that I can get free money. If I have any money left over, I can say, let me put this money into my Roth IRA. That's your personal stuff. Now, the thing is, when you leave that company, whether it's, for example, your own company that you created with your own 401k, or the company you work for that has a 401k also, when you leave that company, usually people go ahead and sell everything. You don't want to do that, because then you're going to be penalized because you're taking it out before you turn 57 years old, so, or 59 years old and a half. So what you want to do is basically you want to roll that money from that 401k into your personal traditional IRA. Where do you create these accounts right here? The Roth IRA, traditional IRA. I use, for example, M1 Finance. You could use, for example, Fidelity. That's fine, but I like M1 Finance a lot. Does that make sense?
Yes, I downloaded the app, but I did not understand it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. If you have any questions, man, look, man, the goal is I want you to walk away from this call with all the tools you need. So don't be embarrassed about asking questions or any of that stuff. Ask whatever you want to ask, okay?
Okay, no, I think I've grabbed a lot.
Okay, so awesome. So now once you're investing that 15% or 20% into your retirement, the next step is you want to start saving up for a down payment for a home. All right? Because remember, by this point, you have a full-blown emergency account, you have no debt, nothing to worry about really, and you're also investing money. So the next step is you want to start saving up for a property. Where do you live?
I live Maryland.
Maryland. What's the average property value in your area?
I don't know.
All right, so you want to go on Zillow, right? And you want to find out what the average property price is in that area. And you also want to find out what the average property price is 30 minutes outside of that area, in case you can't afford that area. Now, when it comes to saving up money for a down payment, you want to put down between 10% to 20%. If you put down 20%, you get to avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance. It doesn't help you, it helps them. So it's a great way to do it, but saving up 20% might be taking you a long time, okay? Now, the big thing is, when you buy a property, you want to use the 33% rule. Meaning, for example, this rule says, the property I buy, including the mortgage, the taxes, insurance, HOA fee, maintenance, everything included in there, cannot exceed 33% of my monthly income. So by this point, for example, you're making, let's say, $4,000 per month. By this point, the answer is you cannot spend more than $1,320 in this house per month. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now this means when you buy this house and it's only basically like a third of your income, it means you still have extra income. By the way, you should get it on a 15-year mortgage, not a 30-year mortgage. The goal is to pay it off, not to basically borrow for the rest of your life, okay? So now, if you get on a 15-year mortgage and you're able to afford this house, the answer is now you have extra money to put towards this house, which means basically if you are throwing an extra 10% to 15% towards this mortgage, you get to finish in 8 to 10 years, meaning you're done a lot faster. Meaning now, for example, a few years later, you have a paid off house, full-blown emergency accounts, you have a paid off car, and you also have a ton of money in your investment or in your retirement account. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But that's the plan. That's what I would advise you.
Thank you.
But the actual step to take right now, man, is to go ahead and find out if that guy did something illegal. If he did, you don't pay him anything because he did something that you didn't even approve for. So that's the idea, you know. The thing is, when somebody tries to scam somebody, they can't sue you because they did something wrong. You know what I mean? So they don't want to get caught with whatever they did. So just find out, call the SBA, find out your application, give them all your information, and they should help you out with the whole process. Okay? That's your first step. But don't buy a new car. Don't get into any more debt. Don't do any of that stuff. Okay?
All right.
All right, man. And by the way, these calls are not like a one-time thing. If you want to call me next time and like tell me what's going on or anything like that, you can feel free to schedule another call. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, man. Have fun.
You too. You too. And about stocks.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's falling, and I'm a little bit shaky. I wanted
You
to
have money in
sell my stock.
investments?
Yes, I have some little money in there.
How much do you have?
2,000.
Okay. It's a lot of money. The question is, what are you investing into?
Man, I bought Dogecoin. I invested in cryptocurrency, and I have some small stocks.
Okay, why?
I mean, I was just following the train. To be honest, I was just following the train because if you ask me, I don't know. I don't even know shit. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. The only train you want to follow is a train to your very own success, and that's gonna be a different train than everybody else. If you don't know what to invest into as far as retirement, I have a video. Just look it up, like how to invest $1,000, Tommy Bryson, and you'll find it immediately. The goal is you right now should be investing, for example, into index funds or mutual funds or ETFs.
What are index?
That's it.
What are index funds and mutual funds?
Okay, so index funds are a very low cost way of investing, right? And the main thing is basically, you ever heard about the S&P 500?
Yes, I heard of it.
Okay, so what that is, that's an index fund also, by the way, also an ETF format. But the idea is that when you buy that index fund, you're buying the 500 largest companies in the US. And those 500 companies output around 80% of all, like, of the whole stock market. So when you buy that right there, you're basically buying this whole stock market in a way, which means you're not trying to beat the market, you're trying to track the market. You're trying to follow the index of the market. That's all you're doing. You're just tracking. There's no crazy trading, none of that stuff. When it comes to mutual funds, the difference is basically, and by the way, an index fund is just a type of mutual fund and vice versa. A mutual fund, though, is when you have a manager and a whole team that thinks they can actually outperform the market. So they grab your money and they try to basically beat the market. That's one way to do it. And an ETF is basically an exchange traded fund, which is basically just, it can track like an index fund also, but it's also traded on the public stock market, which basically means it goes down and up by supply and demand, but it's just a more inexpensive way to get into investing. You can do that, for example, with M1 Finance also. I think Fidelity also has those at the same time. But what you want to do is you want to get a balanced portfolio, meaning you want to get some US stocks in there, international. You want to get some REITs in there, some corporate bonds, some treasury bonds. But again, if you watch that full video that I created on the whole process and the whole system, it should help you out a ton. But this way, the idea is that when you pick one stock, you're saying, if this goes down in value, I'm going to be messed up. But when you pick a whole index fund, it's very unlikely the whole thing is going to crash. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, is it okay for me to link it up for recurrent deposit?
Is it okay what?
To link up, because when I bought, I have this account with cash. So it requires me to link up my account so it can always pull maybe $5 and invest it in the...
Okay. What I would do is right now you should not be investing nothing whatsoever, because you don't have an emergency account, and on top of that, you have debt. So wait until you're debt free and you have an emergency account to actually start investing. And when you're investing, you're not going to use Stash or any of that stuff. You're going to use an application like M1 Finance or Fidelity that allows you to create, for example, a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. You're investing for your retirement. You're not trying to like buy and make quick money. This is money that's going to be made for you in the future. Okay?
Okay.
That's the idea. That's the goal. Okay, so just look up index funds, Tommy Bryson. You'll find some videos on that, okay? And exactly what I invest into.
All right, I will.
Okay? And if you want to find out why I invest that way, read a book. It's called The Little Book About Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle, the guy that created the four forms of index funds. Okay?
Okay.
All right, brother. All right. Have fun, man. I'll see you next time, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, peace out, man. All right, guys, so that right there was Awande, okay? So it's a very interesting name, Awande. And by the way, the big thing here is, sometimes you have the opportunity to do something and get like a lot of money, but then if you get caught And then the government's like, yeah, you going to jail now. It's just not worth it. And when you're investing into things that you don't understand, it's just not worth it. Following the train is not what you want to do. And you know, the steps to building wealth are very simple. And by the way, that's why I say money management is so important. Because imagine, for example, being able to live off 20,000 or 30K, but now all of a sudden you're making $55,000 and you can't live off that anymore. It sounds insane to me, right? And it is insane. On top of that, for example, let's just picture something here. Well, now I have this PPP loan thing. I'm gonna use it for the wrong reason. So basically I'm gonna have to pay it back. Okay, that's another payment added. On top of that, I'm gonna borrow money for a car. Okay, that's another payment there too. I'm gonna borrow money on my credit card, another payment there too. The point is, you wanna simplify things. Take things step by step. And by the way, this guy, I think he was 32 years old. Yeah, 32 years old. Super young. So it's not like you're in a rush for anything, okay? So just take things step by step, and that's the goal. That's the mission, okay, guys? And by the way, guys, the course I'm creating on those 4 steps to financial freedom is coming along, so wait on that pretty soon. But on top of that, also, guys, as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. If you guys want to call me, well, schedule a call, link down below. All calls are free, but they're getting packed, so get one while you still can get a call, okay, guys? On top of that, also, if you want to DM me, well, DM me right here at Tommy Bryson. If you want to check me out on my second channel, well, check my second channel out, Tommy Bryson Show. Also, link down below where I post there every single day. Also, as always, peace out. Another video here. Click my face right here. See you guys tomorrow. As always, peace.